Hi everybody, Andrew here, and today we'll be looking at how you can send usage into the LogiSense billing platform, and if something goes wrong, how you can easily correct it. So what do I mean by mediation? Well, you're going to have some amount of usage, whether it's in a file or you can send it to us through API, that you want to start charging your customers for. What we can do is ensure that we can take that information in, process it, put a charge against it, and ensure that your customers are charged for what they use. Let's jump in and take a look. Okay, so what does mediation look like in the LogiSense billing platform? Well, I'll jump into the data management section here. So as I said, you're going to have some amount of usage data that you want to send to us so that we can charge your customers for it. This might be a file, like a CSV or a columnar file, or it might be something like JSON or XML data that you want to send to us through an API. Either way, the setup is the same. We'll take whatever columns that you have, whatever data points that you have that you want to be able to send to us, and we'll map those into what we need in order to put a rate against it and charge your customers. This might be a simple one-to-one mapping, like we have here for service ID being our usage identifier. Or it might be something more complex that's going to require a transform of data or some post-processing that can change the data based on some other factors. Whatever it is, it can all be set up within here with a strict mapping without any additional code. Once this mapping is completed, all you have to do is send us the data and everything will work perfectly. You might be using our API endpoint. You might be sending your files into a folder structure in Amazon. Either way, the data will come into us. We'll be able to figure out what date the usage came in for, who made the usage, and what rate should be applied to it based on your specifications, and charge the customer accordingly. Now, when everything works, it's all great. But sometimes there might be some issues with the data, whether that's in mediation, where the data that you're sending us has some incorrect elements to it, or whether it's in rating, where there just might be the setup wasn't correct for the usage that came in. Perhaps the order that contained the usage identifier hadn't been processed when the usage started coming in. Perhaps there might be the rates weren't set up correctly or dated wrong so that usage didn't have a rate to apply to it. Or even maybe there was usage that's coming in that doesn't belong to something in your system. Something's been using your data, it doesn't map to anything in your system, and you need to investigate where that data leakage is coming from. Regardless of what comes in, you'll be able to fix the problem accordingly in here and ensure that there's no revenue leakage on your side. I'll jump into import history to cover our mediation errors. So mediation is covered in here, so all files and APIs that you send to us containing usage get logged here, along with a little easy to see view of successes, exceptions, and skipped records. I can dig into these and see at a glance how many successes there were, or if there were exceptions, what went wrong. So in this case here, I've got 3 errors that came in with this file, so 3 usage records didn't process. I can edit the exception here and see something about the error. This one looks like there was a problem with the date that came in on the usage record. So I can quickly go in, change the formatting so that it matches what it should be, update and save, and we'll send that record in for reprocessing to try and get it through successfully so that it can be rated and charged to the customer. So all of that can be done from this screen here. Now, if there was an issue with rating, that goes into our rating exception screen. So right here on the left-hand side, we'll be able to see a list of all of the different exception types that we have within the system. This might be something like the identifier for the usage record doesn't exist in the system, or didn't exist at the right time that the usage occurred. Or it might be something like the rates were missing for this usage record or for this service, and those need to be corrected. Either way, there's something in the system that wasn't right at the time the usage came in that requires somebody to look at and correct. So you can see here, I've got 11 exceptions for identifier out of date range. So this tells me that the usage identifier was found in our system. However, the usage record date doesn't match an active period within the system. So maybe in this case, the usage came in, but the order containing the service hadn't been processed yet. So the service didn't exist yet, and therefore we had no place to charge the usage. I can dig into here to see some more details. Some details on what the exception was, and some other things about the usage record that came in, when it was created, and what usage identifier it was. To get some more details, I can copy this usage identifier here, move over to our usage identifier history screen, paste it in, and I can see a record of this identifier. If there were no records in the system, then I would know that there was something wrong with the identifier on the service that it's supposed to be configured on. But in here, I do see some records saying that it was created on May 23rd. So in this case, it was probably just the usage came in, but the order had yet to been processed from the CPQ system. So I can simply go back to the rating exception screen, hit reprocess, select the dates I want to reprocess for, and send these back through rating. This should look at these records again, be able to now rate them successfully and charge them to the correct account and service. So now when I go in and I run usage billing for this account again, those records should now be charged and should now be rated and charged to the user. So that's a quick look at how we can process usage records in the LogiSense billing system, and if there's any issues that come up, we can quickly fix them so that all of your revenue gets accounted for. Thanks for watching.